And of course, Patrick, these are all the absolute base of the Labor voters that are feeling this pain. And something like housing, let's say they go to a February election. You're not going to get enough rate cuts between now and February to make a difference. You're not going to be able to build a home by February. So there's little that people will see as tangible now between where we are today and where they are on voting day.
Well, that's right. And look, Middle Australia is hurting. You're paying $600 a week for your rent. It's probably going to be $700 in 12 months' time. You're paying off these big mortgages where almost all of it is interest. You're not getting ahead, and people aren't even treating water terribly well. And I think part of the big problem is there's no blue sky in sight. It's not like this is going to get better, as you said, certainly in the next 6 months or 12 months. And a lot of the ambitious sort of rhetoric from the Albanese government doesn't actually stand up when you look at the stats closely. I think they need to build a new house once every 2 minutes for the next 5 years to achieve one of their targets. It's not going to happen. So there isn't anything sort of promising to make it feel any better.
Yeah, I always used to say in opposition, be careful what you promise. Voters will remember you must be able to deliver. So when Tony Abbott used to say, I will stop the boats, Peta Credlin was behind him with her fingers crossed like this, saying a few Hail Marys, because we would have been very exposed if we couldn't have stopped the boat. So there was nowhere to hide. Let's go to that big speech today. Peter Dutton fronting the Cedar Lunch, Committee for Economic Development in Sydney. He spoke with Chris Yeoman. This was interesting today, this speech, because he laid out a very clear strategy about his economic plan. There was not costings there, Cam. I'll get to that in a moment. But late this afternoon, I picked up a breaking report in the UK Financial Times. This was an event in New York. The White House climate policy advisor, John Podesta, he has announced the world's biggest banks are pledging their support for nuclear power. It's a move they hope, governments hope, industry hopes, will unlock finance for a new wave of power plants. Now, Dutton's critics, Labor, they want to say that you can't build nuclear here at scale because there's no one that wants to build nuclear. But that big news from Podesta, Cam, seems to look like things are going to change dramatically.
This is a really big deal, Peter, because you have 14 of the world's biggest financial institutions, many of them investment banks, so the likes of Morgan Stanley's, your Bank of America's, Goldman Sachs, those types, with a lot of money at their disposal, all now coming out in this full court press saying we're willing to put our money behind nuclear power as a way of bridging the gap between today and 2050, where they want to get to net zero. And in particular, they say that it's crucial to underpinning wind and solar for the times that it's intermittent, which we've seen in Australia. Wind and solar have underperformed for most of winter. That's what the market operator says. So when it comes to the coalition's plan, this isn't an investment strategy, if you like, but it is a signal of intent from these big lenders, these big investors, and that is significant. So the coalition's plan at the moment is for the taxpayer to foot most of the bill to fund the building of these reactors. If these investors are serious, could that be a way to bring the financial cost down for the taxpayer, make the financial cost benefit, if you like, of nuclear a bit more attractive, and therefore make it a bit more palatable to those that might still be on the fence, might have some doubts about it? The political hurdles will still remain, regardless of whether there is a better financial backing for it. You look at things like overturning some of the state moratoriums, for example. There'll be work to do there. But this is a big indicator to the global market, Peter, that these big banks, these big investors are willing to back nuclear. And whether that's in Australia or overseas, it could be a game changer.